What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO stock and talk about what happened with Jerome Powell for today. I'm going to break down why the market ended up bouncing, but some other very important information that's going to affect how NIO moves going forward, because we have some very new developments on SPY and Tesla. But before I break anything down about all these new developments and some important things to look out for, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. The offer ends in just 6 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, what happened today? We had a very, very crazy day today. If you look at NIO closed green, closing at over $10.83 a share. But look at SPY. This thing was a roller coaster. We opened the day basically chomping around the 439s. We got this huge pump all the way up to 441 when Jerome Powell was speaking. And as soon as Powell was done, we got dumped from 441 all the way down to 435. The market was a roller coaster. Then after that, the market started recovering slowly and slowly. Then we got this squeeze at the end of the day for shorts. The shorts got squeezed, and we saw SPY close just around 440, very, very close to that, which is where max pain happened to be. And those market makers pumped us right back up, and they hurt a lot of shorts. It was a very crazy day. The market closed green, but the question is, will the market continue on this trend? And another question is, what did Jerome Powell end up saying? What did the guy end up saying today? He was basically being a little bit more hawkish, in my opinion. He said that the Fed has to remain more restrictive because of what's happening with the labor market and also because of the strength in the economy. He mentioned that wages are still relatively high, and this could be translating to more signals of high inflation. He mentioned there are signals out there that inflation may continue to rise, and it may take a while for them to continue. He mentioned, or at least implicitly mentioned, that they're not going to be cutting this year. They don't plan on doing it, and there is a possible extra rate hike that could be coming, but the Fed has to react to the data. He also mentioned that the Fed has to remain restrictive for even longer than expected because the economy is stronger than expected, and there's another sign or signal that inflation may be spiking up again. So with Powell saying these things, he was being a little bit more hawkish. It was nowhere near as hawkish as how hawkish as he was before, basically. But I just want to mention that, yes, he was being hawkish, but nothing he said was a surprise. We knew all of this from the previous FOMC meeting. The last time Powell spoke, he said basically the same thing. Nothing new came from this, so the market didn't really, or it didn't truly have a reason to like tank super hard. He didn't say anything about how they're going to give us, many rate hikes or anything like that. Again, it was all just him repeating the same things. So with that said, the market managed to get a rebound, and this helped NIO rebound as well. NIO also tweeted on their Twitter page that they have the ET5 to ignite the senses, looking very stylish, very, very beautiful design, and I'm very, very excited to see how this is going to play out. On top of all of this, if you look at NIO, we got a buy rating from Deutsche Bank, but we also got a sell rating from other analysts very recently, as many analysts are becoming a little bit concerned about their margins. Now, the thing about NIO is we're going to find out during earnings next week, so it's going to be pretty big for next week. I will talk more about this a little bit later on tomorrow, but for now, the stock price is holding up, and we're going to be watching how the market ends up impacting the stock. The volume was 31 million, very close to average, nothing too crazy. I'm sorry, it was very low. It was very, very low volume. It wasn't close to average. It was half of what average was. And overall, it's still looking like it basically dropped on low volume, started pumping on a little bit low volume too. So nothing out of the ordinary, very, very flat. The overall price pairs data is just looking the same. So there's not really a whole lot going on with it. But I just wanted to mention that we are starting to see some analysts that are talking about NIO's margins not being as strong, and they're a little bit concerned about earnings. So that's going to be the biggest catalyst for next week. And then we also have their deliveries data for August coming out in the very beginning of September. So how does this look from a technical standpoint? This looks a little bit more bullish. It looks like NIO might be trying to head for this 11.11 or 11.12 area, pumping a little bit more. But then we're going to have to wait and see if NIO could break above 11.2. If it fails to do so, we could still be on this bigger downtrend that is still perpetuating. But it looks like this thing is going to get a small bounce to back to the 11s first before we do see anything else. Approaching its earnings, we could see NIO actually pop a little bit. There's a possibility of that as we have a bullish divergence developing on the chart. But the only problem I see for NIO is the fact that even if it does pump a little bit, there is a possible head and shoulders developing on SPY, also on SPX. or like ES or whatever you want to look at. It's basically doing the same thing. We had a left shoulder here, a head right here, and there's a possible right shoulder developing at our 50 EMA being the rejection area. If we reject off the 50, we could see this thing start sinking very hard. If we break above it and start pushing, it could do the exact opposite and push past 446. So we're going to be watching, do we get a rejection off the 50 EMA around the 441 to 442 area? If it rejects, we could see this head and shoulders play out, and we could see the market sink a little bit lower. If it doesn't play out, right, if we don't end up seeing that happen, the market could always try to bounce. But for now, we're going to be watching this trend very, very carefully. Now, you could also draw it out like this. There's another possible head and shoulders. I know it looks kind of tricky. You could draw out the slanted head and shoulders here on the 4-hour time frame for like a left shoulder here, a bigger head than like a right shoulder forming. And if the market does reject, it could start sinking a little bit lower into the 420s. But before we talk about 420, you have to watch how it reacts to support. Do we hold 430 or not? Do we break below it? That's going to be the key if we do end up getting the break to the downside. So we're going to be watching the smaller head and shoulders first. This small head and shoulders could be like the right shoulder of this much larger head and shoulders. We're going to be watching to see if we get a rejection or not. If we do, this could be a bearish signal, but we have to wait and see what catalysts come for the market and how they end up affecting things. For Tesla, it's looking not too great, not too bad either. We actually got a nice pop today, but one thing that concerns me about Tesla would be the fact that when you look at the chart, yes, it's been on this big downtrend, but it tried to rebound, and now we have a head and shoulders like pattern. So the question is, will this be a fake out? Will Tesla try to break above 244? If it does so, we could see 250 plus to invalidate this head and shoulders. But if Tesla fails to break above like 242 and we fail to get above 244, if anything, and we get a rejection to 242s, then we could be forming a head and shoulders, and Tesla could see a big rug pull very soon to fill this gap all the way down to 215. So there's a risk of this. We have to be well aware of this. And I want you guys to know that there's a possibility of the market getting a rug pull. So it all depends on the market. Even if the market bounces a little bit, we could see NIO push, and it should push. It's like 11.2 or so. But even if NIO gets to push, earnings is going to be very telling for the company. And if earnings is not what we're expecting, as they have it in just a couple of days, I don't know if NIO is going to pop approaching its earnings and then dump afterwards, or if NIO is going to do something very different. We will see during the pre-market, and we'll see how it goes, as earnings is going to be on the 28th. So just be ready. Do what you have to do. We'll see what happens with NIO's earnings. Could we get like a small pop and a drop? That seems very probable from a technical standpoint, since we have a triple bullish divergence. But just to be safe, I'm going to be watching the chart and seeing how this thing ends up moving. And I do believe there's a chance we could get a little bounce when earnings comes out, but then we'll have to see after that. So just be open-minded and do what you have to do. And I will talk more about the chart in a later video. But with that said, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Please enjoy the weekend and what life has to offer. And I will most definitely see you guys in the next video. NIO to the moon, because the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.